Boeing shares are slightly lower this morning after reports that the Justice Department is looking into the door plug blowout incident on an Alaska Airlines flight last month. Joining us right now with more on this is Ron Epstein. He is Bank of America Securities senior aerospace analyst. Ron, this is fairly serious because it goes back to an agreement they had from years ago, several years ago, that this could raise some new problems and potentially criminal charges. Can you explain?
Yeah, so if you go back to early 2021, there was a deferred prosecution agreement that the DOJ agreed to with Boeing on the two previous MAX crashes. And part of that agreement was it was a $2.5 billion payment, if you will. Part of that went to airlines, part of that went to the families of the folks that lost their lives, and then part of that went to the government. I think it was about $250 million to the government, $500 million to the families, and then the balance was to airline customers. That was a 3-year agreement with the Department of Justice. The blowout of the plug door with Alaska Airlines happened actually a couple days, I think it was 2 days to be precise, before that agreement ended. So the DOJ is now looking and saying, hey, did Boeing violate that agreement? And if they did, they can tear up the agreement and they could potentially file charges.
So the agreement being that they were going to make sure that there were safe and safety standards were followed, and this door blowout would suggest that didn't happen? Yeah,
so a couple things. So the agreement was one, and it's a little bit mind-numbing when you think about it. Part of the agreement was that they wouldn't deceive government regulators. That's part of it. And then two, that they would work on the safety and quality culture of the company. So the two things I think they're probably going to look at, I mean, I know for sure they're going to look at, is one, did they work on the culture? And then two, was there anything in the data set that was shared with the FAA and NTSB, was there anything missing that could be considered fraud, right? Because the current investigation is being led by the fraud department, if that's what you call it, of the DOJ. And the U.S. Attorney in Seattle.
We can dig a little deeper into the safety and culture issues in a second, but what does this mean for investors right now?
Yeah, I think a couple things. If you're a Boeing bull, you're waiting for $10 billion of free cash flow. The company has said their guide for that is 2025 or 2026. It's going to take longer, right? Number one for the company today is quality, compliance, culture. That stuff comes first, and the financial targets will have to come later. So anybody that's waiting for that free cash flow target or whatever financial target you're looking for.
This Justice Department inquiry is pushing that off.
Yeah, that plus the NTSB investigation plus the FAA, right? Because you had Boeing CEO met with the FAA Administrator Whitaker just 2 days ago, I think it was, and then the FAA chartered a report. I think it was with 25, 50 experts on the culture at Boeing, right? So you got all this going on. So it's the financial targets are clearly going to have to take a back seat to everything else.
What's your rating on the stock?
We're neutral on the stock, and the neutral rating is because the stock, my sense is going to be range bound until these clouds clear. Something kind of has to happen. You're in the midst of probably the strongest commercial upturn, I don't know, potentially in history because of the COVID downturn, right? So you have a huge demand for airplanes. However, Boeing's being held back by all of this.